Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we embark on this first-of-its-kind journey towards a decisive, coherent, and complete energy transition, or may I say, transformation in the Philippines. My name is Marlon Joseph Apanyaya, Southeast Asia Engagement Lead for Climate and Energy at the World Resources Institute, Country Lead for the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator in the Philippines, and convener of our Energy 2030. I am thrilled, I am happy, and I am humbled to moderate today's event, Vision 2030, Powering and Empowering Filipinos towards a hashtag Brighter Future Today. We are joined today by Assistant Secretary Paula Alvarez, Department of Finance spokesperson, and the Philippine Sherpa representative to the Co-Action of Finance Ministers for Climate Action, and Mr. Javi Benitez, scion of the Benitez political and business family, and son of former Congressman Albi Benitez. It is worth noting that the two are children of two political leaders, highlighting the intergenerational issue of energy transformation and climate action. We will also be hearing from Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Energy, Senior Undersecretary Jesus Posadas, representing the Department of Energy, which is headed by Secretary Alfonso Cusi, and Senator Manny Pacquiao, who is training in the U.S. for his upcoming fight. Good luck in that fight, and follow Hidelin's victory, Senator Manny, who set his strongest endorsement to date on energy transformation and climate action. And we will read his statement live. Also speaking today are Mr. Salvador Castro Jr., popularly known as Coach Aboy, President and CEO of Cleantech Global Renewables, Ms. Kathleen Coballes, Climate Change and Energy Attaché of the British Embassy Manila, and Head of the Secretariat of the Energy Transition Council, Ms. Cara Angan, President of the Ateneo de Manila Sangguniang Student Government, Ms. Pia Faustino, Social Impact Director of Thinking Machines Data Science, Ms. Ruth Yu Owen, Chairwoman of the Renewable and Energy Efficiency Committee of the European Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, and co-founder of Connected Women, a 75,000-member strong organization of entrepreneurs and professionals united towards gender empowerment, and Ms. Sharon Montanier, Director of the Market Operations Service from the Energy Regulatory Commission. Joining us as well are representatives from Toyota Motor Philippines, AC Energy, and First Gen Corporation, who are all very eager to have the Green Energy Option Program, or GEOP, fully and rapidly implemented. We have been working with these companies to craft a joint statement of support for rapid, full implementation of the Green Energy Option Program. Today marks a very momentous event for Filipinos, especially the youth, as we come together in solidarity to amplify the voices of the public and private sectors in demanding for decisive, coherent, and complete change, taking back ownership and redefining the narrative on what it means to have a truly responsive and truly inclusive energy transformation and climate action in the Philippines. For Filipinos, by Filipinos, of Filipinos. And what is energy transformation and climate action in the Philippines? Merong kuryente, energy supply security, murang kuryente, cheaper electricity, and not what we have, which is among the highest in the entirety of Asia. May trabaho, creation of jobs, especially in 2020, that in 2020, we lost a record 4.5 million jobs and 8 million more Filipinos took pay cuts. And that is just official statistics. Hindi pa kasama dyan yung mga hindi nabibilang. Magandang trabaho. Jobs that provide dignity, that can feed families, that are green and planet-friendly, that positions the Filipino for global domination. Just like my fellow Bisaya, and Mindanaoan Hidalin Diaz. And of course, itong mga post-COVID na negotiables, non-negotiables, malinis na hangin at malinis na kapaligiran, cleaner air and a cleaner environment, at malusog na planeta, a healthy planet that avoids the worst impacts of climate change. We have laid out this call to action into 3 parts in this afternoon's super event: business engagement, youth and civil society engagement, and political leadership engagement, with each session highlighting the crucial steps we must take in order to empower Filipinos towards a brighter future today. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce our esteemed main keynote speaker from the Department of Finance, who will kick us off with a keynote message. Attorney Paula Sharina A. Alvarez is currently the Assistant Secretary for International Finance and Special Projects and the official spokesperson and head of communications at the Department of Finance. As an Assistant Secretary, she handles sustainable and climate finance, as well as disaster risk finance. She also manages special projects, such as the Interagency Task Force on Marawi Rehabilitation and the Interagency Task Force on Infectious Diseases. She sits as the Secretary of Finance's alternate in different international platforms, such as the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, and the Coalition of Finance Ministers for Climate Action. As the head of communications, she provides the overall direction and guidance on the content of the communication materials published across digital and traditional platforms. ASEC Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marlon, for that very passionate opening, and distinguished guests and representatives from the private sector, a pleasant afternoon. On behalf of the Chairperson Designate of the Climate Change Commission and Secretary of Finance, Carlos G. Dominguez, we thank the organizers for spearheading this first-of-a-kind, multi-sectoral event on the responsive and inclusive energy transition in the Philippines and the urgency of climate action. The conversation about climate change is very real to the Philippines. Being among the countries most vulnerable to the ill effects of climate change, we ought to approach this crisis with greater determination and creativity. In starting these conversations, we must always bear in mind the future we want to live in and the future we want for the next generations. This is to guide us in our decision-making process. This will require a whole of government and whole society approach, and comprehensively changing the way we live and the way we do things. With the unprecedented disruption brought about by the global pandemic, we have been forced to rethink our ways of life. We believe this is an opportune moment to intensify our action on climate crisis and begin building sustainable cities by shifting our investments to renewable power sources. This will not only help us adapt to the changing climate, but will also pave the way for economic growth for a sustainable and resilient future. All of these are not only possible, but are already underway. In Mindanao, we are exploring a financing mechanism that will enable the government to improve the generating capacity of the Angus-Gulati hydropower plant, and while at the same time, a feasibility study to acquire all coal-fired power plants in that region to repurpose them is also being done. This initiative will shift most of our energy requirements in Mindanao to hydropower, and eventually spur investments from companies seeking to expand their operations in areas powered by energy. We have also submitted our first nationally determined contribution, targeting a 75% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 in the name of climate justice. This ambitious goal represents our commitment to modernizing and pursuing resilient development for the agriculture, waste, industry, transportation, and energy sectors over the next 10 years. The pursuit of clean energy scenario should result in improved energy security and reliability, energy access, and most of all, affordability of energy products and services. To implement the energy transition, a total of $121 billion is needed from 2020 to 2040, or about 20% increase in terms of technology costs alone for the power sector. Investments, technology, and capacity building are needed to scale up and speed up the energy transition. We believe that the resulting energy efficiency will be a major driver in increased greenhouse gas reduction and avoidance of the energy sector, especially with the full implementation of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Law, the Energy Resiliency Policy, and other climate change adaptation programs. The shift to renewable, clean energy resources and green technologies, and the adoption of modern and low-carbon approaches to help mitigate this climate crisis will make our economy more resilient and our more sustainable. This is why the Department of Finance is fully intent on mobilizing financing for climate change mitigation. As we speak, we are establishing a sustainable finance ecosystem to synergize investments, both from the public and private sectors. We look forward to building, very soon, green social projects that will have a lasting and permanent impact on the environment and our people. Finally, we look forward to more collaboration with our international partners and the private sector to achieve our climate vision. Again, we only have one planet, and all of us must act decisively today in order to save it. Thank you very much, and we look forward to a pleasant and good discussion throughout this whole webinar. Marlon?
Thank you very much, Asek Paula, for that inspiring keynote message. Indeed, we must always bear in mind the future we want to live in. And as a Mindanaoan from Northern Mindanao, it's truly heartening to hear of the Department of Finance's plans for Mindanao and its proactive role in making sure that we submit our national determined contributions, or NDCs, as we look forward, as we look ahead to the 26th Conference of Parties, or COP26, the United Nations Climate Conference meeting happening in Glasgow, UK, later this year. So thank you, Asek Paula. Now that we have heard from one of our champions in the national government, let us now hear what the youth has to say. At this moment in time, there is no doubt that the youth will be a game changer in enabling the Philippines' quest for a rapid and complete energy system transformation and climate action. After all, the future is theirs for the taking, which is why they have a say on how they want to shape it. At this juncture, to deliver his welcome remarks, I am proud to introduce one of today's most influential voices of his generation, Mr. Javier Lopez Benitez, or Javi, as people would fondly call him, is a political scion who, just like the rest of us, wants to become part of the solution to achieve a brighter future today. Javi is the son of former congressman and esteemed business leader Albi Benitez and Dominic Nikki Lopez Benitez, and a loving big brother to his sister Bettina Marie. Javi completed his minor degree in computer science and his major degree in political science at Santa Clara University in California, United States. Javi was also a former TV host and has played numerous roles in both the big screen and the primetime platforms. Needless to say, with a huge following in all his social media accounts, Javi has continued to become not just an influencer, but as a role model.
He is here today because he believes in the power of what the youth can do. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Javi Benitez.
Thank you for the introduction, Marlon. Mayong hapon sa inyo tanan. Good afternoon. It's time. Nearly 100 years since we joined our first Olympics to win our first ever gold behind the sweat and tears and sacrifice and strength of a Filipino, a woman, and a provinciana from Zamboanga. It's time. And exactly 500 years since our great nation embraced Christianity as our faith to be Lux in Domino, God's light in the world alongside other great faiths, from Apari to Sulu. It's time. It is time to be who we want to be. It is time to build the community we want to have. It is time to fight for the future we deserve, whatever it takes. We are all products of our past. We are all products of our communities. We are all products of the future we want. And it is time for us to act on the future we know and believe in our heart of hearts we deserve. Ako din, I am a product of my past. My family has served as public servants for years. Within me lies the spirit of service and the heart of the people. I want what's best for my fellow Filipinos, for my fellow provincianos, for my fellow millennials, and for my fellow people of faith. I am a product of my community. I grew up ensconced in the bright fire of business, innovation, and healthy competition. I know, as we all know, that investment is a risk and also a reward. I want our business sector to bloom and grow and prosper. I am the product of the future I want. I eschew the paths others thought I should want to take. Instead, I looked around and saw possibilities. I decided I can be whoever I want to be. We can be whoever we want to be. Our country can be as beautiful as we want it to be. Our planet can be as healthy, as strong as we want it to be. All it takes is one decision at a time. In a recent meeting, my dad, former Congressman Albi Benitez, and former Governor Lito Cosculluela talked about a vision for 100% renewable energy for Negros and our province becoming the IT and data center capital of the country. And I wholeheartedly support their vision for a truly sustainable Negros. We've already taken steps towards this decision by declaring Negros Occidental coal-free in 2019, the first ever province in the country to do so, a huge point of pride as a Negrense. Southeast Asia is among the last bastions of energy transformation and climate action because global economic growth is widely expected to emanate from a region, this part of Asia. And for this growth to happen, the region will need unprecedented amounts of energy. As well, Southeast Asia has long been a magnet for opportunities and investments. Investments that Vietnam took a lion's share of last year with over 7.4 billion USD invested into solar and wind power, doubling its renewable energy capacity in a year. These investments we want in Negros and in the country. Investments that in turn bring in climate-smart industries and investments that create green jobs for the benefit of millions of Filipinos. It is time we decide what we want our country to become. It is time we decide to act the way we want our country to be. It is time we be who our country needs us to be. Our country needs renewable energy sources. When the Renewable Energy Act was passed in 2008, the energy sector hopes soared to the skies. We began to envision more clearly how a Philippines could be. No more rotating blackouts distressing our homes and families. No more fossil fuels polluting our land. No more exorbitant electricity bills turning away potential investors. It has been 12 years. The time is now to implement the Green Energy Option Program and the Green Energy Auctions. It is way past time. Our country needs climate-smart industries. Since the start of this pandemic, we have seen 2 batches of graduates who rose to the challenges of online learning, climbed on virtual stages, and carried their shiny new diplomas to the job seekers market. We saw 2 batches of graduates who embraced new technology, trained in new ways of doing business, and prove that there's no going back. It is time we leap forward into a different future. Our country needs green jobs that will fuel our economy into a sustainable development pathway. The class of 2020, the class of 2021, and all future classes will have the same spirit, overcoming all adversities, even the ones we never thought we would have to face. They stood their ground against the challenge, and they know we cannot go on as we did before. They know the challenge is inevitable. It cannot be stopped. They will clamor for clean skies, affordable power, and disaster-resilient communities. And the way they will seek jobs and that they know will give them the tomorrow they want to have. They will vote for the future they long to have. 4 million Filipinos will vote for the first time in 2022. 4 million first-time voters. 4 million youth who share the optimism and the anxiety over what their lives will be like in the next 6, next 10, or 30 years. How do we feed their hopes? How do we show them that we will not let them down? How do we answer when they ask, when will you fulfill your promises? Puro paasa na lang ba? We tell them, ngayon na. Ito na ang tamang panahon. Panahon na para baguhin ang sistema ng paggawa ng kuryente sa bansa. Panahon na para mag-invest sa clean energy. Panahon na para palaguin ang mga kalikasang industriya. It starts with our past. We must move away from our fossil fuel-based past towards a future of cheap renewable energy. It starts with our communities. We must light the fire of climate awareness in our youth, in the business sector, and in our government leaders. It starts with the future we want. We decide right here, right now, to take concrete, responsive, and inclusive action towards energy security. We decide, then we act. It's time. Welcome everyone to the Vision 2030 press conference. May we have a fruitful discussion today. Luciat looks, it is time to let our light shine. It is time. I am Javi Benitez, Filipino, millennial, provinciano, negrense, and a person of faith. Welcoming you to Vision 2030, powering and empowering Filipinos towards a hashtag brighter future today. Madamo gid nga salamat.
Madamo gid nga salamat, Javi. Thank you for reminding us what lies ahead and what steps are needed to successfully carry on this journey towards a renewable energy transformation. Definitely, it is time, and it's time to act now, not tomorrow, but now. At this juncture, we will proceed to our first segment, which is the business engagement segment of our super event today. This session will highlight the benefits of a rapid and full implementation of the Green Energy Option Program, or GEOP, and how this will impact businesses in increasing and achieving their sustainability and renewable energy targets. One of the goals of this press conference is to gain greater support for the implementation, for the rapid and full implementation of the Green Energy Option Program. I'm here to present on why we need it and why we need it now. But first, let me provide just a quick overview of the Clean Energy Investment Accelerator, or CEIA. Our organization, for which I'm the program manager in the Philippines, is an innovative public-private partnership that addresses barriers on the deployment and scaling of clean energy solutions in the commercial and industrial sectors in emerging markets, which include, as Javi mentioned, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. We are jointly led by the World Resources Institute, or WRI, for which I am the Southeast Asia Engagement Lead, Allotrope Partners, and the United States National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, which brings members with unique technical expertise to ensure successful country-based efforts led by local and regional staff, which is all supported by a wider global team. The program is supported by a range of public, private, and philanthropic partners. We start this session with a few framing slides. Businesses, both international and domestic, are seeking means to increase the sustainability of their company, not only to reduce their carbon footprints, but also to increase reputation in the investment community while reducing costs. More and more multinational and large corporates are pledging to use 100% renewable energy and into other sustainability commitments through programs such as the Science-Based Targets Initiative, or SBTI, the RE100, and the Renewable Energy Buyers Alliance, or REBA, such as the demand that our partners in the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, along with the National Renewable Energy Board, have established our country's own REPH 100 last February, just this year, composed of a group of companies with operations in the country seeking 100% renewable energy. Multinationals such as Apple and Toyota, for example, are working with their supply chain partners in the country to also shift to 100% renewable energy. But it is not only global multinational companies seeking to green their operations. Local companies like Globe, real estate developers such as NEO, and even universities, hospitals, and SMEs have set sustainability goals. There are two pathways to achieve 100% renewable energy in the country. The first is through the Retail Electricity and Competitive Access, or RCOA, where companies with monthly peak demand of at least 500 kilowatts can contract with retail electricity suppliers offering renewable energy. For companies with less of that demand, we have the much anticipated Green Energy Option Program, or GEOP. As per our conversations with suppliers offering 100% renewable energy, they can already offer rates lower than those of the incumbent distribution utilities. The GEOP provides end users with demand greater than 100 kilowatts the power of choice to contribute to the development and utilization of the Philippines' renewable energy resources in a least cost and sustainable manner. We can see here that retail electricity providers, some already offering 100% renewable energy, have a lower generation rate than the incumbent distribution utility in Manila, in Metro Manila, Meralco. The average rate of RCOA for the first quarter of this year is only 3.6 pesos per kilowatt hour, as opposed to the average generation rate of Meralco for the same period at 4.42 pesos per kilowatt hour. This translates to direct savings for those shifting away their utilities. The companies I've shared in the earlier slide already know this reality, that renewable energy can and is already cheaper than fossil fuel energy sources. The Clean Energy Investment Accelerator has been working with companies in the Philippines in calling for rapid and full implementation of GEOP. And as Javi mentioned earlier, it is time. It is time now, more than ever, as we work to recover from the pandemic. And now is the right time to give the power of choice to a wider range of businesses. The power to be more sustainable and gain competitive reputational advantage, and the power to choose the least cost option for their electricity. Here you can see the joint statement of support signed by Toyota Motor Philippines and its parts suppliers and their dealerships, around 100 of them, across the country, with AC Energy, First Gen, and SN Aboitiz. Quoting from the joint statement of support, implementing the Green Energy Option Program will allow key sectors like the automotive industry in the Philippines to reach 100% renewable energy targets ahead of other countries in the region, helping the Philippines build a strong competitive advantage as companies make decisions about where to source products and make investments. Full and rapid GEOP implementation also signals that the Philippines has a clear, long-term vision, a vision like Vision 2030 for growing its energy sector to better meet future demand through stable, market-based mechanisms that deliver reliable and affordable renewable energy while leveraging private sector capital to reduce public spending on power generation investments. End quote. Toyota is only one of the companies in the country seeking to go carbon neutral. We hope that the GEOP will immediately be passed by the administration of Secretary Alfonso Cusi and jumpstart the country's energy transformation. Speaking of Toyota, at this point, I would like to call on our reactor, Mr. Mark Marcelo, Environment Section Manager of Toyota Motor Philippines, to provide us his insights from the lens of Toyota Motors Philippines. Welcome and good afternoon, Sir Mark.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me here. For Toyota, we are committed for carbon neutrality by the year 2050, and it will include CO2 reduction from our supply chain up to our production operation and up to our dealership. So I think it is a game changer that we have the Green Energy Option Program in the Philippines, as it will give more power for our SMEs in order to transition into a renewable energy environment. This will help us to be more globally competitive and might probably one of the consideration for other multinational companies in transferring their operation in Philippines. We hope that the increase in demand when the GEOP is implemented will translate into more construction of renewable energy power plants in the future. We hope that it will be implemented soon so that we can make our stakeholders greener, less dependent on fossil fuel, and at the same time be more cost efficient in their operation. Anyway, we are all doing this for the future, and the deadline for Paris Accord is getting near. And we hope everyone to take their part and do the right thing, help preserve our environment, and make a prosperous and sustainable business and lifestyle. Thank you.
Message. And thank you for Toyota Motors Philippines leadership in the corporate sector in the Philippines and setting the stage for other multinationals in engaging their Philippines-based supply chain partners as they embark on a complete, coherent, and decisive energy transition for their own supply chains.